Hi, this is Scott Richardson, the bench doctor from the Liberal Gun Club. Tonight I thought I would show you how to make your own 7.7 by 5.8 Japanese brass out of 30-06 cases. You can use regular commercial cases, or you can use milsurp cases. This is I believe a Remington commercial case, but I've used Lake City brass as well. But it makes it pretty affordable to shoot an old Type 99 Arisaka. The Type 99s, World War II vintage Arisakas, are pretty available and relatively affordable on the surplus market because a lot of people shy away from the expense of loading them, feeding them. The company PPU makes limited runs of 7.7 by 5.8 Japanese ammo every year, but when you can find it, it's about $2 to $3 a round. So it's not a cheap gun to feed using commercial brass, and it's not easy to find brass for them. So you can make your own by just trimming and reforming a 30-06 case. The nice thing about the Arisaka as well is it takes the exact same bullet as a 303 Enfield. So if you reload for an Enfield, you can also reload for the Arisaka. So what I use is I just have a set of calipers that I measure my factory brass with, but you don't need a piece of factory brass to do this. You can get a reloading manual and it will give you the case overall length, and you can trim your 30-06 to that. To trim it, I just use a regular copper tubing cutter. This is made for cutting, thin copper tubing for water lines and things like that, but it works great for this. And then I have a set of Lee reloading dies for 7.7 Japanese. So I just take the resizing and decapping die out of this and put it in my press and reform it. So I'll go ahead and show you how to do it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 7.7 Japanese commercial case, the case I know is the right dimensions. I'm going to zero out my calipers, and then I'm going to go ahead and get an overall length, 2274. I'm going to go ahead and lock that down. So now I'm going to take my 30-06 and I'm going to just make a little mark on it. And you can cut this a little bit short because this brass will stretch when we put it in our resizing die. So this doesn't have to be exact. You're going to probably end up trimming this anyway like you would any rifle brass, but we need a starting point. So I'm just going to make a little line where I want this, right there. And you may not be able to see that, but a Sharpie works well too. But I just have scribed a little line there. I take my tubing cutter, open it up, and then you're going to want to put your brass in here and rest it between these two wheels, in this little saddle between these two wheels. That way it will sit evenly. And then I line this blade, this wheel right here up on my line that I scribed on the brass. So that's about where the blade is. Okay, so my line is right here, right in line with my cutting wheel. And I don't snug it down too tight. You just want to have a good grip on it. And then you just kind of turn, and you'll see it scribe a little bit of a line there. And you just twist a little bit as you go. You just tighten it a tiny bit. You can see it's forming a little bit of an indentation as it goes around in the brass. And that's where it's cutting. So just take it around, about one revolution, a little bit of a tightening. Take it around again. The good news is you won't have to do a bunch of these. I've only done about 40, and they've lasted me. You can load them 5-7 times, 5 to 7 times. And they'll hold up. So, I don't shoot my Arisakas a lot, but I have plenty of brass now. So I just keep going. And then I load them on the mild side too. I have no reason to run, big hot loads through the Arisaka since it's a milsurp rifle. I'm not I don't want to stress it out too much. But apparently they have very strong actions from what I've read. So there's, they're pretty beefy chambers, but I don't push my luck. So there we go. We're almost done. There we go. So you can loosen that up. And there we go. So just cut that right off. Now you can see we have the right length, but our shoulder dimensions are completely different. This has this short shoulder, and this has a really long shoulder on it. So what we're going to do is put this in our reloading press, run it up into the die, and we're going to be bumping that shoulder down and reforming it on this brass. Okay, now I'm over at my little Lee press, this little single stage press that I use exclusively for this kind of thing, rather than have to set up a whole bunch of dies or change my other presses. So now we have our brass that's been trimmed to the same length as the 7.7 Japanese brass. Now we're going to have to shape it. So as you notice, these shoulders are quite a bit different. This one's very shallow, and this one is very long, and it's a different angle. So what we're going to do is this die is going to form it into this shape. It's going to move this shoulder down, and it's going to straighten out the neck. So I've used a generous amount of this unique case lube, because we're asking quite a bit of this die, rather than, you'll see if I just run a 7.7 Japanese brass through it, it's pretty easy to do because the die isn't moving that much metal. But when it goes to reshaping this 30-06 brass, it's going to have to move quite a bit. So I put that in there. Let's give it a good solid press all the way down, full length. Pull it back out. I like to run it a second time, like so. Okay. And now if you look at it, you'll see the neck profile is the same between the two. This one's a little bit longer, but we can trim that with standard case trimming tools. But these shoulders now match, and we'll have to take a little bit off there. But that's it. That's how you make 7.7 Japanese brass out of 30-06. Fortunately, the rims are the same size, and so the number 1 shell holder works for both cases. So they're very similar, which makes this a pretty straightforward process. Anyway, I hope that helps, and I hope it gets you out there shooting your Arisaka soon.